Hey everybody, I just kind of wanted to post a video to try to help give some clarity to the exam process because the first one is always a little difficult to understand exactly what's going to be expected. So I thought it might make sense to take 5 minutes and kind of go over it a little bit. I've been talking about it a little bit in the lectures and all that information is accurate, but this will help a little bit more focused explanation of what's going on. So, okay, exam is coming up. It's due by the end of the day, Sunday. The time limit on there is 150 minutes, so that's 2.5 hours. I did that for two reasons. Number one, to try to encourage people to be prepared. I think otherwise the temptation is, well, I'll just start the exam and I'll fill in the gaps and figure it out as I go. Please don't do that. That would be extremely frustrating. In an exam like this. I'm definitely assuming everybody's watched all the lectures, has read all the articles, and is prepared to take the exam. And even at that, this time limit, it'll be plenty of time if you're ready. But the other part of having a time limit is I didn't want to leave it open-ended. I didn't want somebody to think they should sit there for 8 hours and get every last little detail, every last little piece. Y'all are busy. You have things going on. I understand that. I respect that. There does have to be rigor in the course. The rigor comes from the exams, but there has to be a limit to what's reasonable. And I just don't think leaving it wide open and letting some people take 8 or 10 hours to complete it, knowing that not everybody in the class has that kind of time, I just don't think that's the right way to do it. So the limit is 150 minutes. There's 15 questions, all short answer. So yeah, if you're averaging it out, that's 10 minutes a question. That's enough time. If you're prepared, that's plenty of time. I will say that some of the questions are longer than others and have multiple parts. So when you factor that into the grading system that I'm going to talk about real quick, it has an implication for strategy. First, you want to make sure that you answer every question because I'm grading on a 0, 1, 2 scale. So 2 means I could hold it up to the class and say this is exactly what I was looking for. A 0 is this is not in the ballpark of what we're talking about, and there'll be a fair number of 1s on every question that are missing something. Just missing something that prevents me from holding it up to the class and saying this is perfect. So that's the easiest way to do it. We got 20 students in the class, 15 questions. That's 300 questions I have to grade, and I don't want that to take 3 weeks to get back to you. So this is the way that I've found over the number of times I've taught this course to speed it up. Now, obviously, if you're going to grade that way, you know, what it results in is a lot of people getting maybe 21, 22. That's a good score out of 30. I'm not going to convert that to a percentage and say that is your grade for the exam. I'll have to use some sort of adjustment, and that is always dependent on the distribution, so I can't promise ahead of time what that's going to look like. What I can say is just do the best you can. There probably won't be anybody that gets 30 out of 30. Or if there is, it'll be 1 or 2. That's pretty rare. There'll be a few 24 to 26, I imagine, and there'll be a bunch between 20 and 24. And then there might be a couple that are on the lower ranges. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those are bad scores, and the adjustment takes that under consideration. Let me give you an example. They're all short answer. Here's one that I don't feel bad showing you ahead of time. I don't think it's given all that much away. All right, a U.S. company sells half of its products domestically and half in foreign markets in Europe, in countries that use the euro. So there's a currency risk here, right? So is that currency risk pure or is it speculative? We talked about what that means. And then is it particular? Is it fundamental? We talked about what that means. So I expect you to be able to justify which of those answers you think is correct. And in this case, I'll give away that at least one of them, well, it depends on how you justify it. I think one of these is pretty clearly right and wrong, but the other one, it depends on how you explain it. You can make an argument either way, and that's why I'm saying I care about the argument. I read into that. So this is one of the shorter ones. And this should not take you 10 minutes to answer if you're prepared. This should be 2 minutes to answer. And then there are questions that have 4 parts. So what you want to make sure that you do is you want to be concise, but you want to be complete. So don't leave anything to my imagination. Don't expect me to fill in the gaps. 1 or 2 sentences is enough to close off the idea. I don't need a dissertation on this. A paragraph here is probably enough. 2 sentences for each, that's probably good enough. It doesn't need to, you don't need overkill. You don't need to say the same thing multiple times, because you need to move on to the next questions and make sure that you get through there. So that's an example of a question that's going to require less time. And again, if you're prepared, if you remember what pure and speculative are and what fundamental and particular are, I don't think this takes particularly long to say, yeah, this is what I'm going to say. And all of the questions are kind of like that. I'm looking for your argument. I'm not necessarily looking for a specific answer. You don't have to agree with me necessarily to get full credit. If you've got something I haven't thought of, I'll consider that. That's interesting. I enjoy that. That means you're engaged with the material and you're thinking about it. That's actually exciting if you're a teacher to see. So I am excited to see how well you do. Do the best you can. I'm not using time limit as a way to put stress on people. I'm using time limit as a way to confine it. You have 150 minutes, 15 questions. I'd be saying try to get 7 or 8 minutes per question. If you've got that, move on, and then come back. You are allowed to jump around between questions. The only thing you can't do is once you start, you have to finish. So you can't do a little bit now and a little bit later. And for obvious reasons, I can't allow it to work that way. You are expected to do your own work. I mean, I think that goes without saying, but just so everybody's on the same page. Yeah, be proud of what you know. That's okay. Do the best you can. It's not about right and wrong answers. It's about the quality of the thought process that goes behind. And the neat thing about a short answer exam is I can assess that very, very quickly. So I'm just looking to see what you've learned from this, and do the best you can, answer every question, try to answer it fully, and everything will be just fine. In the meantime, you have any questions, reach out by email, and I'd be more than happy to try to provide some more specificity if that'll help. Thanks a lot. That's enough. I don't need to ramble on anymore. Thanks for your patience. And exam 1, due Sunday by the end of the day. Good luck. We'll see you then. Thanks.